Hi everyone, thanks for joining me here in my kitchen. Let me show you what my neighbor gave me. This whole big grocery bag of lemons. So I was trying to think of what to do with all these lemons. I'm not really a lemonade drinker, but I am a baker, and so I decided to bake some lemon pound cake. That'll only use a few lemons, so I'll keep posting recipes with lemons. So come eat with me, Lorianne Lee, as we make lemon pound cake. I'm starting with the classic pound cake recipe I found in the America's Test Kitchen Family Cookbook, and then I'm tweaking it to make it a lemon pound cake. And then on top of that, I'm also making a lemon icing to drizzle over the top. So you might actually have all of the ingredients to make this lemon pound cake at home. We're going to use cake flour. Cake flour is a little bit different than all-purpose flour. It comes down to the protein content. So all-purpose flour typically has between 10 to 12% protein, and the content of protein in cake flour is only 7 to 9%. All-purpose flour tends to absorb more liquid and it produces a stiffer dough, whereas cake flour will tend to have a softer, pliable, and moist product than something that is made with all-purpose flour. So if you don't have cake flour, you can just find it at any grocery store. So I have a container in my pantry. So we will be using cake flour. We will be using granulated sugar, a little baking powder, vanilla, salt, some unsalted butter, 4 eggs, and the lemons. I'm not sure how many lemons I'll need. Probably 2, maybe 3 total. But again, I have that whole huge bag, so lemons galore. All right, as far as special equipment, for this recipe, we're going to use a food processor, and I have my Cuisinart food processor that is a sturdy kitchen workhorse that I have had for a gazillion years. I will be using my microplane zester. I have a couple of measuring spoons, my handy dandy silicone spatula spoon stirring thingy. I'm going to use a 9-inch loaf pan, and I will be using my large mixing bowl, my medium mixing bowl, my small mixing bowl. So I have a set of 3 mixing bowls. I will be using all 3 of those. I have my whisk, and I will be using my strainer. If you want to use a sifter instead, you can. I tend to use this instead of an official sifter. So those are the pieces of equipment we will use and the ingredients here in my kitchen. So let's get started and make some lemon pound cake. I need to melt 2 sticks of butter. So I just stuck these in my 2-cup Pyrex, and I will zap them in the microwave. For me, and again, your lemons will vary, but 3 of these lemons produce enough zest for 1 tablespoon. And for this, I needed 2 tablespoons of lemon zest. So here's some more math skills for you. 3 lemons made 1 tablespoon, and I needed 2 tablespoons. So 3 times 2 equals 6. I used 6 lemons to give me 2 tablespoons of zest. And then I also added in 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. And I have lots and lots and lots of lemon juice still. This is 2 tablespoons of zest plus 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. To this, I'm adding in 1 1/4 cups of granulated sugar. And I'm just going to give that a little rub so that the granulated sugar will actually have the oils from the lemon zest and the juice from the lemon, and it will absorb that, and so the sugar will be lemon flavored, and it will help to increase and amp up the lemon flavor by making sure the oils from the lemon zest have been rubbed into the actual sugar instead of throwing them into the food processor separately. By doing this step, I'm really ensuring that the lemon is fully incorporated into that sugar. This is a beautiful color. I don't know if you can really see it in the video, but this was just granulated sugar, which is white, but then I rubbed in all of that lemon zest and a little bit of that lemon juice, and this looks so pretty. It has a light yellow tint to it with little orange flakes from the lemon peel, all of that zest. So all of those great oils from the lemon zest have melded as one with the granulated sugar. That is so pretty. While I was mixing the sugar with the lemon, I microwaved the 2 sticks of butter on high. I did 1 minute first, and then I swirled the butter around, and then I did another minute, and you can see those milk solids have separated. This is what we want. We need hot melted butter for this recipe. For my dry ingredients, I just have my 1.5 cups of cake flour. I have 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'll just give that a little stir with my whisk and set this aside. Next, we're going to utilize our food processor. So now that our beautiful sugar with lemon juice and lemon rind are melded together, I'm gonna add all of that into my food processor. Wow, that is so pretty. And then I'm adding in 4 eggs at room temperature. So I had these sitting out as soon as I decided I was going to make this. So those are now room temperature. If your eggs are cold out of the refrigerator, you can just place those cold eggs in a warm bowl of water with the shell on, whole eggs intact, and that warm water in the bowl will help to bring those eggs up to room temperature. All right, so now I'm adding in 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. And I'm going to turn this on for about 10 seconds. That's just to make sure those are all fully mixed. I see a little bit of egg that is not quite mixed up, so let me go a couple more pulses. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it back on, and I'm going to stream in that 1 cup of hot melted butter. So I'm just pouring it in slowly, and that is making an emulsification. So because I streamed that melted butter in gradually, that made an emulsification similar to when you make mayonnaise and you slowly drizzle in the oil, and that makes a thick emulsification. I'm feeling with my silicone spatula around the edge, and it feels like there's still some sugar that is not fully incorporated, so I'm going to turn this on for a little bit more. right, I need to prepare my pan. So I've added a little bit of cooking spray, and I have one of my sheets of parchment paper. Now, to help me do this, I'm just gently laying the paper over the pan, and I'm cutting with scissors from the corner of the sheet of parchment to the corner of the tray. I could also lay it this way. I'm just eyeballing it. And by cutting these corners, I'll be able to overlap the corners so that the entire pan inside is lined with the parchment paper. So you can see I've cut the diagonal corners from this parchment paper, and now I'm going to place this inside the pan, and the corners will overlap so that I have a fully lined baking sheet with parchment paper. Can you see that it's fully lined out? Just by cutting those corners. All right, so now I'm going to spray this. So now my pan is prepared. I have my sugar mixture that I processed with those eggs and hot butter. It's a thickened mixture. I'm stirring with my whisk and I don't feel granular bits of sugar. So now this is ready to incorporate the dry ingredients. So here I have my cake flour, baking powder, and salt. I'm going to put this in about 3 batches. So I'm just eyeballing a third. So I'm just tapping the side, and as I'm doing so, the finely sifted dry ingredients are falling into the bowl. I saw a video online that looked like a great trick for professional bakeries. They put an electric drill with a rubber tip. It looked like a microphone fixture. I mean, it wasn't a microphone, but it looked like that. It had a rubber tip. And so that they just turned it on, and that vibration from the electric drill helped them sift through humongous batches of dry ingredients into wet. Okay, so that's about a third of the dry. I'm going to just give that a stir. Now, for this pound cake batter, we want to make sure that we're not overworking it, right? We have that delicate cake flour. Okay, so I'm gonna put in another third. I didn't keep my wet and dry separate, so now I'm hitting the side of my strainer with the spoon that has wet on it, so that's why you're seeing all these little drops. It's not the end of the world. I'm continuing. It's just not as neat and clean. Typically, I would want to keep the dry, use one dry spoon and one wet spoon. I neglected to do that, so that's why it doesn't look quite so neat. All right, so let me give this a stir with the whisk. Wow, this dough is so pretty. Okay, that's the end of that dry. So let me tap that in so you can see it's like it's snowing. We're sifting so we don't get lumps of flour or lumps of the dry ingredients, because we want it super fine and to incorporate into the wet ingredients easily. Okay, when you get to the bottom, you could just keep tapping. You can now transfer to pressing so that the rest of the dry ingredients go to the bottom, and now I'm using my spoon to scrape the bottom. So now a few last stirs. This batter is smooth. There's no lumps. I'm scraping down the sides to make sure that all of the dry ingredients are incorporated. I'm scraping the bottom. I don't feel anything holding this beautiful batter from finishing. Okay, that looks good. It's thick and oh man, it's so beautiful, this color. All right, our batter for our lemon pound cake is ready. All right, my oven is preheated to 350 degrees. I'm going to pour in this beautiful pound cake batter, scraping down the sides to get every last bit of that batter. Just gonna give it a little love tap. The original recipe says this should bake for 50 to 60 minutes, rotating halfway through. I am quite excited to share my newest kitchen toy with you. So one of my kitchen fairies, one of my lovely benefactors, sent me this KitchenAid juicer to use with my KitchenAid stand mixer. And this is the first time I've had an occasion to use it because I have that huge bag of lemons and I only needed 6 for this recipe of lemon pound cake. So I'm going to put this KitchenAid juicer to work. So here it is, KitchenAid juicer. Just like many other of the KitchenAid attachments, they attach right here at the front. So I am loosening this screw and this piece just comes right out. If you have not used an attachment to your KitchenAid yet, it is a great way to maximize your KitchenAid so it's not just a mixer. I have a pasta roller that I've used. I have an ice cream maker that attaches. I also have a spiral cutter that the same kitchen fairy gave to me. So I love and am so appreciative of my kitchen fairies who send me presents. All right, so I have my KitchenAid mixer. I've opened up this piece. Here's the compartment that will house the part of the attachment that will juice our citrus. And then there is a strainer that will attach. And here's the tool that will connect it all together. So this one is actually metal. There is the end that has the square tip, and then this end has a round end, and you can see the pin that goes through here. Can you see the pin? There's a round section in there, and you can see that's where the pin goes. So I'm just placing that in, and that is in there now. So now it looks like a dreidel. I'm now going to place this square end through the front of this bowl, and you can see the square end is sticking out the back now. And now this will go right into our KitchenAid, and I am turning the knob to lock this in. And now this little tray that will help us strain out seeds just sits, it goes straight in, and there's little tabs right here. So you can see there's an indentation here, so that just slides right in and it sits there. I wanted to show you this little notch right here. So this is where this goes, but see how there's a little indentation here? I wanted to show you that because there is a little knob here, and so I want to make sure that I align. See here, it's not lined up. I want to make sure that that knob fits into that groove. Okay, so that's what I wanted to make sure I showed you. So now I can lock this into place, and then we can get juicing. Oh my goodness. I did my first half of a lemon. Look at how clean that shell of lemon is. Okay, we're gonna get a close-up here. There's all of that pulp that is on here. I can see that this tray caught the seeds, and then inside the bowl there is juice from half a lemon. Wow, that was so fast. And I knew it would be efficient, but I didn't know it would be this efficient. Oh my goodness. Usually when I squeeze a lemon, it doesn't look like this at all. Okay, just for comparison's sake, here's the other half of that same lemon. I'm going to just squeeze the juice into the bowl. Oh my goodness. All right. That was a good squeezing. So here's what it looks like when I squeeze it by hand. And to compare, here's the one where the machine did the work. Wow, that is quite dramatic. That shows you what a good attachment this is for your KitchenAid. So the directions say to do this at speed 6. So that's 1, 2, 4, 6. And I'm just placing the lemon so that it will fit into the juicer. And again, super fast. That was so quick. Let me see, let me count how long it takes to juice this. Here we go. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. Okay, 5 seconds and it's cleaned out. Woo! I just juiced 6 lemons, and you can see that this tray is full of seeds and some pulp. So I'm going to empty this out and then do the rest of the lemons. But look at this, all of that lemon juice, and it took me a whole minute. That was super fast. This is definitely an awesome attachment for your KitchenAid stand mixer if you use a lot of citrus. This is so fast and easy. Oh my goodness. With this kitchen toy, I may just need to start juicing. I cannot believe how fast this is. And it gets every last drop. Amazing. That was super fast and easy. And look at all of this lemon juice. That was 18 lemons. So let's see. There's all those lemons in my sink. All those empty shells of lemons. Let's see how much lemon juice was extracted from those 18 lemons. All right, I am straining all of this juice through my fine mesh strainer because I did see a few little seeds, not whole seeds, but little pieces of seeds. So I will let this drain. I also have a lot of pulp in here, so we're gonna get this purified a little bit. All right, my lemon juice has now been strained through my fine mesh strainer. I don't see any more evidence of seeds, and it looks pulp free. So now I'm going to see how much lemon juice was produced from those 18 lemons. So just pour into my measuring cup. All right, here's a tip for measuring. Right now you are looking down, and when you're using a glass measuring cup, if you look from the top down, when you look at the lines, it won't be accurate measurements. It's important that when you're using a measuring cup that you look at it from eye level. So we're going to move. So now I am looking at it at eye level. So I can see straight on that this is 2 cups. This is 1 pint of lemon juice. Whereas if I looked from up here, you can see there's lines over there. It just doesn't give you an accurate measurement. There are some measuring cups that have a diagonal piece where it has measurements at the diagonal to help you look from the top, but you don't need to buy one of those. Just use your regular measuring cup and just make sure when you're measuring that you bend down and you look at this from straight on so that your eyes are eye level to the measuring cup. All right, I poured out another pint of lemon juice. So 1 pint plus 1 pint is 2 pints, which is equal to 1 quart, which is 32 ounces. There is absolutely no way I will be able to use 32 ounces of lemon juice in the near future. So let me show you one of the new food storage solutions that I have started using recently. So these are Super Cubes. I don't know if you can see that in the video. Super Cubes, that's the brand. They are made of high quality silicone. And this particular model is 1 cup. Each of these is 1 cup, but there are also marker lines for half a cup. So what I'm doing is I'm going to freeze 8 half-cup portions of lemon juice. These Super Cubes come with lids that I will just place on. And then these can go in the freezer. And then once they're frozen solid, I'll pop them out of the molds and I'll place them in a vacuum sealed bag. I will have reasonable portions of fresh lemon juice. Instead of freezing one whole huge container, this way I can have more realistic portions of lemon juice for a few recipes. So these Super Cubes have been a huge lifesaver for me when I'm doing meal planning. That will be other videos. But for now, I will place both of these into the freezer. And then I have a little bit more. Let's see how much. So that was 1 quart. And I'm getting eye level. That's a little bit under half a cup. So I will just keep this in my refrigerator and see what I can use that for in my cooking the next week or so. But 18 lemons juiced from that KitchenAid attachment so quickly, so efficiently, and so thoroughly. I mean, look at that. That is amazing. So definitely if you use a lot of citrus, I would recommend you get that KitchenAid attachment. My 25-minute timer just went off, so I am going to move the pound cake, rotate it 180 degrees so that the front is in the back and the back is in the front. All right, the timer just went off, so that has been 50 minutes. Ooh, this looks a very dark brown. Let me use my toothpick, insert it into the thickest part and pulling it out. And I don't see a bunch of cake stuck to it. Pressing and it pops back up. So I think it's done. Wow, I wonder why it looks so dark. I don't have it on a high rack. I'm not sure why my pound cake looks so dark on top. I baked it on the middle to lower middle rack. So 5th from the top, 3rd from the bottom. So it's not like I had it up high where the top would be closer to the burner. So I'm not quite sure why it looks so dark from the top. We'll have to let it cool, and then I'll cut into it and see what the interior is, and hopefully that top is not an indicator that it tastes burnt. The top looks very dark, but the rest of it does not. So the side looks lovely golden brown, and the bottom looks like a light yellow. So I'm not sure why the top looks so dark, but the side looks beautiful. I'm just gonna let this cool for a few hours, and then we will make a glaze. To make a lovely sweet glaze, I'm just going to use powdered sugar and some of my fresh lemon juice. So I have 1 cup of powdered sugar, and when I turn my eyes so that I'm level with the measuring cup, I can see that this is 1 cup. And then I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice at a time, and it could take maybe 2 to 3 tablespoons total. And I'm just using a little delicate little whisk to combine. This couldn't be any simpler. Okay, I need more liquid, so there's my 2nd tablespoon of lemon juice. And you can see how quickly that came together. So now I have a nice glaze that I can drizzle over the pound cake once it is cooled. And it will add a little sweetness, a little tartness, a little shine to the top, and it'll just add a nice glossy look. All right, I am satisfied with the consistency of this glaze. So this looks good. So now all we have to do is wait for that pound cake to cool. Sometimes that is the hardest part. Wait, wait, wait. All right, the lemon pound cake has cooled, and now it's time to add the drizzled lemon glaze. This is just 1 cup of powdered sugar and 2 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lemon juice. All right, this pound cake turned out deliciously, and this glaze just made with powdered sugar and fresh lemon juice, great addition to add a little more sweetness. The pound cake, because I use that cake flour, has a nice light delicate texture. It is tart and lemony and delicate on the palate. It is a winner. This pound cake, yes, you can see I've already taken a couple bites, and I gave both of my neighbors some of this lemon pound cake. The glaze is great. It's not too sweet, and it's actually not too tart. I think it has a nice balance because I use cake flour for this pound cake. The tooth of the cake is nice and tender and delicate. As I got a piece, then I made sure I scraped the plate so I can get some of that icing. It's very good. A little bit tart. You can see my pucker face. That strange dark brown coloring on the top. I don't know why it was like that, because like I showed you, my rack was not near the top. But it doesn't taste burnt at all, so I'm glad about that. It's just visually, it's a little darker than I would prefer, but taste-wise, it tastes good. Definitely the cake flour instead of all-purpose flour really contributes to having a delicate texture of the cake, that mouthfeel. And even though the original recipe that I tweaked to make this lemon didn't specifically call for a glaze, I'm glad that I looked up just a simple glaze online so that I could cover the top, and then the parts that are drizzling down and dripping on the plate, I'm like scooping up. It's really good. The pound cake by itself would be good, but definitely with the glaze just kicks it up a notch, which is a good thing. What I like about this is that it's not so sweet, but I mean, it's definitely sweet. It's a dessert, but because you have that brightness from the fresh lemon, it adds that tartness too. So thanks again for joining me. Try this pound cake recipe for yourself. Super easy. You probably have all of the ingredients at home. And let me know how it goes. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out this video if you'd like to see more. Come eat with me, Lorianne Lee.